flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Well, we'll take roll call here to establish who's here for our regular meeting. Nathan? Here. Bill? Stephanie? Tony? Here. Tony's here via phone. I am here. Ben? Fran? Jennifer?
Here.
And Dan?
Sure.
All right. We'll go ahead and have our regular meeting, and we'll start our regular meeting with a call for board comment. Is there any board comment tonight for things that aren't on tonight's agenda, or any recognition from the board? All right. Administration, introduction of guests, and comments from our administration.
I'm just excited to see this room full.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's good. I'm on the edge of my seat to see what was going on.
I agree.
I am too.
All right, okay. All right, and then I would open the meeting to public comment. This is the time for comment on matters that are not on the agenda. Topics for public comment cannot include any pending legal matter, private personnel issues, or private student issues. The board cannot enter into discussion during general public comment. The board may occasionally ask questions to clarify public comment, or the board may correct inaccurate statements if warranted. Is there any public comment at this time? Yes, please state your name, stand for the record.
Hi, my name is Greg Overstreet. I wanted to let you know I'm your new representative in the House of Representatives, Montana, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I've been assigned to the Education Committee of the House, which means all education bills in the House will be coming through a committee that I'm on. So I need to hear from you because candidly, I don't know that much about education. And so I need to hear from parents, students, right? You guys, you know, you're represented too, and administrators. So I think it's a good thing for Stevensville School District that one of your own is on the House Education Committee. So I'd love to hear from you. Really easy to find. Please contact me. Let me know. Thanks.
Thank you. Further public comment? Yes, Mr. Lewis.
Hello, this is Lori Lewis. I am here representing the Stevensville Hall of Fame and Stars Foundation with 2 invitations. A save the date for our gala for the Stars Foundation for the track and tennis courts and facilities area. And a save the date for our final recognition for the wall out hallway and our inductee list. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll make sure those members of the board that aren't here tonight get this information as well.
Let me just put it in the box in the office.
Yeah, if you want to drop it off to the district office, yeah, that'd be great. They'll get them that way. That'll be great. That'd be perfect. So, thank you. Further public comment. All right. Thank you. I will make a board comment. I deeply appreciate and recognize some just fantastic work that the district has done, students have done, teachers and staff have done to communicate, to positively communicate things going on in the school. I've been known by folks that are close to the school. This school's done great things for many, many years, but yeah, that's getting out into the public. And so there's notices, promotion, signs on Main Street, and Infinite Campus messages going out, reminding people of concerts and opportunities and things going on. So just a lot of positivity. Can't appreciate enough all the parties that are involved in that, making that happen. I think it's just great. All right. We'll start with our approval of minutes. Got 2 sets of minutes in your packet. I'm going to take a look at those. And are there any questions about those as we look to approve those? All right. We'll start with the Work session minutes from November 12th. Actually, there's 3 sets of minutes, aren't there? The thing, but start with the work session minutes from November 12th. That meeting was at 6:15 PM. And I get to approve those.
So moved.
Jennifer? Nathan, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the work session minutes from November, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We'll take a look at the regular board meeting from November 12th. Questions or corrections? Motion to approve? Nathan,
Second.
Jennifer, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Special board meeting, November 21st. We handled a few business items and then had a discussion in that meeting, November 21st, 7 PM. Questions, corrections? Motion to approve. Nathan? Is there a second?
Second.
Jennifer, second. All in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We have our claims for this month. Those claims are November claims of 41,900 through 41,959 for a total of $136,256.79. And October student accounts are at $12,742.55. As we talked about in our work session, any board members reach out to the district office ahead of time for questions about those that we can get answered now.
Then I made a mistake. It should be November student professionals.
Oh, okay. I did wonder about that. I'll correct that on here. Okay, November student accounts. Okay. Did you want to touch on what I sent in, Dave? Or on the,
Sure.
thanks.
Question about the Harlow's invoice. I will get copies of that invoice from this last month so that we can see a breakdown of route transportation, activity transportation, and be able to see that. We do have some claims from Canada Law. We have some situations where we need legal guidance that happen pretty frequently. Need to admit, but I probably talk to Bia 3 times a week on various issues, and so that happens. Those were the only ones I had marked. And was there anything else?
Yeah, what I,
Oh, the sweet pea.
no, that I'm good on that. That was,
Right.
yes,
Yeah,
what is
we
our,
have furnace.
what's our rental blower that's.
Yeah, we
expensive.
had a furnace go out right recently, and we went to call out to get that repaired, and that was
That was the rental
temporary
to back it up.
fixed.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good to know. All right. Further questions for the district office? All right. We'll approve the claims and the student accounts in the same motion. Is there a motion to approve November claims 41,900 through 41,959 for $136,256.79, and November student accounts $12,742.55.
So moved.
Jennifer?
Second.
Second, Nathan. All those in favor of approving claims, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Move into our consent agenda. There are 4 items for hiring there and a few other items that you'll find in your packet, as well as a resignation. So our consent agenda items on tonight's consent agenda have been organized as such due to their similar nature and have been deemed unlikely by the superintendent and board chair to require individual discussion. Any trustee has the right to request that an item be removed from the consent agenda and debated and acted upon by itself. Does any trustee wish to remove an item from tonight's consent agenda? What's that? Oh, yeah. Thank you. We have to have that door propped a little. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for catching that. I would like to, pull name of, substitutes off the list, to act upon on its own. I'll be, pulling, the name of Daryl Yount, is on the substitute for board approval list to act upon by itself. Are there other changes, other requests for the consent agenda?
You have a quorum for elementary?
Tony, yep. Yep.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if he was voting.
Okay, all right, seeing no other, the trustees' approval of the consent agenda only pertains to those items that trustees legally have the right to approve under Montana Code annotated. Is there any objection to approving the consent agenda with the change mentioned? All right, seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. All right, and then the single name off the substitute list of Daryl Yount, substitute for board approval. We'll handle individually. So all those in favor of approving as a substitute, Mr. Yount, please say aye.
I guess I would have a question as to
Yeah.
why we've removed him.
Yeah.
And we can't, for personnel matters, discuss anything.
Well, then. I guess I don't feel comfortable then if we removed him from the consent agenda. And I can't know why we removed him from the consent agenda.
So I would suggest that we table that particular item until, the board feels comfortable with, some follow-up about that particular. So what you would have approved then would be what was on the consent agenda with that name removed, and we will circle back and, put that on a future consent agenda and do some follow-up so that the board feels comfortable making it.
Okay. So I'm not even sure we'd have to table that because we approved the consent agenda without. I think we're good.
You just removed him
Right,
from the
right.
consent agenda, so everybody else on the, it's that particular individual.
We could
not
take-
approved because that person has been removed
right.
and can be added to a future.
Yeah. So we don't have to do, I think we don't have to do anything
No,
until it's brought back at a future consent agenda. So, okay. All right. Any objection to that? Feel everybody comfortable? All right. Okay. On to what should be a really great part of tonight's meeting. Our informational items, starting with our high school report and Mr. Caney, and our agenda notes that we have a field trip.
Yes, so, thank you guys. So from the high school, you can see a bunch of happy faces. They volunteered themselves to come down and do this. Kind of the agenda for what we're gonna do is I'll go over a little bit of the numbers, okay? And we'll talk about athletics, we'll talk about ALC and the core classes. And then we'll get up for a much needed break from our seats and kind of show you what the downtown of Stevensville High School looks like, all right? And our FCCLA will talk a little bit about their trip that they took. DECA is going to talk about the project that they're doing down there. One of those moments where it's easier to see and to listen than to just be told about it. So we'll walk down, they'll do their presentations, and then we'll come back up and we'll finish our presentation. Let's jump into numbers real quick. Just wanted to point out where we're at with 347 students. Obvious numbers that jump out to me is a small senior class of 71. That's gonna, be leaving us, unfortunately. These are great kids, but that'll be replaced with the senior class of 94. So you're gonna have a jump in numbers automatically next year, all right? School attendance is hovering right around 91%, which is good. And then this one is new. We did a career plan survey with all of our students. I think it's important to see where is the mindset of your students as they're going through high school. Like, what are freshmen thinking? What are sophomores thinking? What are juniors thinking? What are our seniors thinking? So they self-reported what their plans were, whether they were planning to go to a four-year university, a community college, a trade school, military, straight to work, or if they were undecided. I hope to have that on something that's on our board presentations each time we do it, so we can see changes in those numbers as we continue to host events that are happening. For example, a lot of these students today probably watched a presentation from Georgetown University. All right, one of our very own, very proud, Malia Gunnerman did a presentation to our students and talked about the course offerings at Malia, I believe I said it wrong, but Malia Gunnerman about Georgetown University and what it has to offer. Now, ideally, if those programs are good, we'll see spikes in university things, right? Career Day coming up on Friday. We should see some spikes maybe in straight to work or going to college or going to a trade school. So we want to try to measure what's happening with our students. All right. So that's where we have that data. All right. Now, more exciting data. All right. I'm going to hand it over to the students. So the rest of this, the students are going to present. They all have things that have been assigned to them. So I'm going to introduce the students real quick so you know who's talking to you, and then they know when they're supposed to go. So we have with us Mason Hill. Mason, you want to wave? We have McKenna Monroe. We have Nevaeh Meter. We have Emma McCoy, Silas Siebert, Cole Germain, Evan Montague, Jake Gadlack, and our student council representative, who will present afterwards, is Addison Dry. All right, so now to lead us in our discussion on what happened and what is about to happen in athletics is our very own Evan Montague.
Get after. So my name's Evan Montague, and as you can see on there, those are my boys on the front cover. But I'm just going to talk about the fall sports and like mostly the academic honors, all state, all conference, and everything. And the football team had two kids, Joey and Sean. I'm sure you guys can already look at a lot of this already, but and most of these kids on this list too, like every one of them except just a few, all have academic all-state honors too. And, Joey and Sean are from football. They both got honorable mention for all conference. For the girls soccer team, there's 3 girls that got all conference. Addison Noble, a freshman, I believe. She got first team, which is pretty terrible as a freshman. And no all-state there, but another 8th grader got honorable mention for all-state for the girls team, which is pretty crazy too. On the volleyball team, Kendall and Lily both got honorable mention for the all conference too. And then on the boys soccer team, there's about like 8 kids on there, so 7 or 8 kids on there with 4 of them having academic. 2 of us, I guess. I don't think that ain't right. Yeah, so yeah, the boys team, I don't know, I don't want to brag about my boys, but I know that they're dogs and got after it this season, and yeah, it's well deserved for all conference, all state, et cetera. Yeah, but thank you.
In winter sports.
Oh, winter sports, of course. Yeah. It's the new basketball coach we got for the boys team. He's something. He's cool. And his name's Kenny Begay, and the assistant is Gabe Brown, the football coach, the head football coach. And they're just a good group together. And it feels like there's big things coming from them, and they're gonna do something with the program that's well needed. And I'm not sure what about the girls team, but I don't know. They got it rolling too. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you. And then Emma is gonna give us an update on our alternative learning center.
Alright. Coy, we have an enrollment update in the ALC. We have 10 seniors, 11 juniors, 3 sophomores, and 2 freshmen currently enrolled. 30% are because of IEP or 504 plan, and 58 are placed due to anxiety-related issues. 2 seniors have completed the course as of December 1st, and 4 students are currently on wait list. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thanks. So 4 classes, we're gonna talk about math and English. Next time, we'll talk about science and social studies, but this time, we actually have quite a bit of our students in here who participated in the Survey Says. So Jake, you want to give us a little rundown on Survey Says?
Of course. Hi, guys. I'm Jake Gavlak. So to get into our core classes with math, we have been doing Survey Says. It's one of our more rigorous projects in the class. We've been surveying hot topics such as, do you vape? Do you like English or math better? Do you like exercise? And all of these are asked by different people to determine influence of bias in surveys. Thank you.
What would be like an example of like bias?
So, I know one of my friends did, do you use AI on your home? So they would have, they would go and ask using a random sample, go ask just people in the hallway. And then to determine bias, they would use a teacher would ask. They would ask a teacher to ask all their students who come in to use AI. So that would kind of influence, like, do you tell your teacher you use AI on your homework or do you not? Thank you.
McKenna, you want to talk about our English classes?
All right. Hi, guys. I'm McKenna Monroe, and I'm delighted to talk about our English department. English has always been one of my current subjects, like favorite current subjects, and that's continuing on this year. Across the board, everyone is reading a variety of novels. We have our freshmen are reading Of Mice and Men, Lord of the Flies, Ender's Game, and then getting into your sophomores, and then heading on to juniors and seniors. Dune, The Tempest, Chris Grimley's Frankenstein, How to Read Literature Like a Professor, and then in choice, or for AP Lit and AP Lang, we have our choice novels, which is really creative and allows us to kind of pursue any book or genre we're interested in, and yet is also building those tools for the AP exams, which again is the focus of those courses to pass those exams in May. But yeah, really just wonderful exploring the literature, building those skills, preparing for those end of year exams.
You guys ready for a field trip?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're gonna go to the Commons real quick. We'll give a presentation on our.
Having that, I think that we're walking a fine line as far as board procedure, in that if someone is not here or on the phone for a discussion, they don't get to vote during the meeting. So if they are not here during a work session before the meeting and we're having the discussion that's going to come for the board meeting, why are we allowing them to then vote at the meeting? I think there are other ways we could work to shorten our meetings and make them more expedient for us and our administration. And so I guess I just feel like we need to revisit this and what is our purpose?
Further board comment? Nathan?
I was going off of the same thought that Jen was. We are still going down a road. I mean, as a business owner, we don't have meetings to just have a meeting. And I feel like the way that we are doing it, we haven't stuck to our rules since we've started, which is somebody makes a motion and we continue. And I feel like as a board, we need to, in thinking of our administration and our public. I know a lot of people that talk to me, they don't come to the meetings because Everyone here has kids, obviously, that are involved. They can't be here until 10 o'clock at night, and the same thing with our administration. So I think that we really need to do a better job. And if we're sitting here as a board of 5, we're gonna go through the same things that we did last meeting, where you were telling Billy, well, we spoke about that in the work session. So I think we need to get better as a board.
There,
Suggestions.
yeah.
What's that? Suggestions. From me? Whomever. I think that we need to do what we said from the beginning, is make a motion and follow, and then follow procedure.
I think that whether it's before or after a motion, I think during the meeting, the public has to be allowed comment.
Right.
I think that there are ways to shorten our meeting. I think changing our consent agenda. I think if we added which I've seen a lot of other school boards do, their consent agenda includes things like claims and minutes. Those are blanket things that could be approved and would save a lot of time. If we think about it, claims are money that the school has already spent. We are approving the checks being cut. That is not the time to debate whether something is a valid expense. We've given our administration authority to approve certain expenditures, and if we have issues with that, then we should be taking that up in budgeting, in resource, in asking for new bids for certain things, but having long discussions about claims, at that point, it's done. We're not gonna not approve a claim and then not pay our bills. And so I think adding things like claims and minutes to consent agenda, it should be over and done with. It would save a huge, I think a huge amount of time. I think we've talked this till we're blue in the face. Asking your questions at the administration before we get here can save us time. I think there's always going to be discussion. I think our community should be here for discussion and give us that discussion. We should be prepared when we sit down, and we should hear what our community has to say, and then we should make a decision. I mean, that's how I see it. I think having a meeting, like having a meeting to have a meeting doesn't make sense to me in any way, shape, or form. And I can tell you that the me who arrives at 7 o'clock, who's been able to go home after work and go to the bathroom and get a snack before I come back at 7, is a much happier person than the one who drives here straight from work and doesn't get to eat anything until after 9 o'clock.
All right. I will. Is there further board comments? Yes, Stephanie.
I would support looking at what we can roll into, if we can roll further things into consent agenda. I think there is a disconnect sometimes between who's here to discuss an item versus who's here to vote on an item. And I do think it's difficult to get into new habits. So changing the format of how we do the motion, the fact that we've not stuck to it every time, is just something that happens when you're changing protocol. And I would like to see what would happen if we kind of combine some of those aspects to see if that could shorten our meeting.
Sure. Okay, very good. Okay, further board comment? Public comment for items that are not on tonight's work session agenda. Yes.
I was just gonna say, I completely agree with the board meeting idea. I mean, I missed it last night. I didn't do things properly. And then I came in after all the discussion was over. And then when it came time for the meeting, I was like, I don't know what the discussion was. And so I missed out on a large part of the meeting. And I think that's valuable to be able to give input to you guys on what we're seeing, but at 6 o'clock, I'm determined to. It's hard.
Right.
And you're not getting out any sooner. This is the.
All right, further public comment? All right, we'll start with our work session agenda tonight, which is related to items in tonight's board meetings for the purpose of that discussion, as has been pointed out. So in that, there's a couple things that I think would warrant conversation now, but all points duly noted. But are we going to be in a position where we discuss these things here shortly because the people who aren't here? Could be. I don't know. I truly don't know. But points well taken. All well taken. So on tonight's agenda, one of the things that I think would be good to visit about some, make sure everybody has their questions answered, is around our own board structure and what we have called since the beginning of the board year, an ad hoc governance and communication committee. Jennifer and others had brought forward a very good point that at what point does a committee need to be formalized, so it's not existing simply kind of on a whim, if you will, or an ad hoc basis. And so this governance committee that Dan and others have brought forward the idea, seen it in other school districts, a committee that works with the superintendent on a number of issues that do touch where other committees work, and then kind of are a sounding board and a place that then get work assigned to other committees. So as discussion takes place, maybe something finds its way into facilities or into policy or into resource. And so do think that the committee has gone well. This is Tony calling, so I'm going to go ahead and put him on speaker, and then we'll add that to the roll. Okay, Tony, we're going to add you to the minutes as attending via phone. All right. If you want to mute yourself, if that's possible, then we won't have the background noise. Thanks. All right. Everybody good with Tony's attendance as of 6:31 p.m.? Okay. With that governance committee, then we did spend some time at the beginning of the year working on communication, which appreciative of the district's work, increasing communication, increase outreach to stakeholders, to parents, to families. I think that's gone very well. And then we continue to work with things. And so it is appropriate. It was appropriate when that was brought forward that we ought to formalize that. So you'll be asked in the regular meeting at 7 o'clock to take a vote to formalize that, drop the ad hoc nature, the name of that, and to make that a committee that then shows up on our website. Have a meeting time is in that spirit of, openness, full transparency, clarity to all involved. And that we would mimic and replicate what we see other school districts do in the name of governance. So,
I guess my understanding, and maybe I was not understanding correctly, was that the committee was formed for communication and transparency between the board and the admin, and because there was a lack of transparency, particularly from the board. And I feel that this new committee has created, honestly, in some ways for me, more issues with transparency. I feel like we are less transparent than we once were. I think that, I guess I don't understand what governance is doing that is different than policy. If a board member has an issue with a policy, they should be letting the admin know and bringing it to the policy committee, or if it's facilities, or if it's resource. I don't know why we need a committee to manage our committees.
Well, in the research that I did with it and then how it's been functioning, and seeing where other districts have it, there are so many things that do not fall in a clear pathway, in a clear silo. So there's so many issues that have a touch of policy, have a touch of resource. I mean, almost everything he does has to do with the school, has a touch of resource in it for money. So it's this blend, that other districts do, and that seems to be where we spend our time looking through across other things. Or
I'll give you an example of what governance does. It could be done in a work session, or what have to be done in board. And that's the current work that's being done in governance regarding evaluation. There's been a great deal of time that's been spent, and the results of that work have been shared with the board, or will be shared with the board. They'll have the opportunity to add, subtract, do whatever. If we want to have a work session, we can sit and spend, I guess, 2-3 hours or longer.
Yeah. We can do it as a full board.
Stephanie spent a great deal of time putting together a lot of the works on governance, and I think you're going to see that. If we don't get it done there, we're going to be doing it.
But wouldn't that also, that would be the time to put in an ad hoc, if the board feels the evaluation process is not what we want it to be, then you form an ad hoc committee who works on that evaluation piece and then disband.
So let me answer that question. I brought the issue up. Member of the board, Tony, made the comment that he would like to see the governance committee work on working on the evaluation. Remember sitting right over here saying that.
So Jen, is your thought that the committee isn't able to do what they do because because it touches on so many other structures of?
Well, I mean, I think, so I guess part of this came out of the fact that, I was an observer at the last governance committee meeting, because that meeting was going to happen at the same time or right after resource, and it made sense to combine those meetings. And so that was my kind of first, view of what they were doing. And as an observer, it felt like what was happening and what was being discussed was really the business of committees we already have established.
Right.
And then I think it kind of goes back to that, we're keeping things away from, the rest of the board can't be there. And so now we're making even more things less touchable, less seeable. We're keeping it.
So I would say
I think that, we can't have a committee for a committee for a committee for a committee.
Right.
Just to have it. Like, it doesn't make sense. It needs to run efficiently where everybody can see what we're doing. And so I think I'm on your page, but I see Dan's point with spearheading something. But where should the spear come from? Does that come from the board? Or is that coming from a committee to oversee a committee, if I'm understanding this correct? And so I agree with both. I think I see where Jeff's coming from a lot more, where we don't need oversight for oversight.
And I don't think there's any oversight, but fair enough. Yeah, I think on the flip side, there's probably more touch and less siloedness of it because of just what we said. Because in the past, everything sat in a committee or didn't sit at all, and we had to do it for it. Where now, if there's more people involved in the process, then there's more knowledge about it. And so when policy which different people sit on, take something up, but if there's been a quick talk about, hey, this is going through the district right now, this is happening. Dave shares, hey, we're gonna work on this policy. This is where this is at. There's more of that connectivity and more of that clarity. So I do think, I guess is inside looking in, that it has achieved that, quite a bit of that board clarity that we didn't have before. With if a committee did something, we didn't know what they did. We've got some of that overarch that brings that together, not oversight, but just clarity and communication. I'm not aware of any oversight function of it. I feel like I'm making it so people can see, but
I'm not aware of any oversight function. That's not the purpose of this meeting.
no.
Those things that belong in governance, excuse me, those things that belong in resource, road and resource. Those things that belong in facility. So will be a conversation happens to come up in my experience with the few governance committee meetings we've had. One of the first things which happened as well, that comment gets made, well, that needs to be discussed. And Dave does what he needs to do. Yeah, that.
I think the more committees that we have, the more platforms we have to create situations where we can choose to either support the work that our administration is doing and clarify what the board is doing, or we can add to and pile on and create muddy waters, I guess. And I think that we need to be very careful, both with the transparency issue to make sure that it doesn't feel secret society-ish. If people are feeling that way, we should really look at that. And then also we need to make sure that we are not muddying the waters and getting in our own way with the number of committees that we have or what the committee work is doing.
I agree with you 100%. I think that's exactly.
Public comment? Right, another item for tonight, of course, anything on the agenda is open to talk about at this time, but.
Sorry, so getting back to the original.
Yeah.
So if we made that, if we approve that tonight.
Right.
What exactly, where's the road that goes down?
Okay, yeah, fair question. So, so it would be and that's a great question. It would be a committee, as I understand it, that, like some of our other committees, so like negotiations, the negotiations does not have a firm set standing time to meet. It meets as needed based on other external things. And so this would be a standing committee without necessarily a firm monthly schedule. And so if there is nothing that demands the of a three-person body in the superintendent, it need not meet. And so if it doesn't meet, again, we're not creating extra work, we're not creating muddy waters, that sort of thing. But if the board in a meeting says, you know, that would be something the governance committee should work on, should take a look at. Obviously, as you see in all the committees that each of us are on, sometimes we end committee meetings with saying, let's pick thing at our next one. And so I guess that'd be the two ways that we would see meetings as a governance committee continue to meet. So the first one would be the board says, like Dan's point earlier, hey, this, you know, let's remand that to governance and then have them report back with some thoughts around that. The second one would be, we meet for an hour, we meet for an hour and a half, our brains are fried, we've given it what we can, and so we call ourselves back into a meeting to finish some other work. So I think that would be the two main ways. There's obviously, I guess, a third way that we see with all of our committees too, that the superintendent says, hey, something's come up, or we need to, you know, cover that. So boiler goes down, you know, that's gonna get thrown on a facilities committee meeting really fast. So there could be something like that too. So good question. And that's what I would think. Dan, Stephanie?
Yeah, let me touch a little bit on transparency and what I like that piece. It goes back to my first term on the board, it still exists. There are a number of standing committees every month, and I have no idea what you're doing. So the resource committee meets, facilities committee meets, whatever they're doing. I have no idea what you talked about. Report. So, and have standing committees. Probably as a board, as a public, hear what it is, but as to discuss those other standing. So, don't have a little bit of a pet peeve of meetings on whatever. That's all I do.
Well, I guess, and I think, and you're hitting on it, really the road I'm going down, and I think, I don't want to speak for Jen, but I think that that's kind of what we're talking about here is the committees that we have are great. And I'm a Neanderthal. I've created a world where it's great. But it's hard to get something done with, I understand there's laws and everything behind it, but I think that's exactly that's what I'm talking about, is to where, what does this do that's different than what we already do? And with the facilities and the resource and policy, I don't know what I don't know what they talk about. I'm not there. And what you're talking about, Dan, and there's two board members that are speaking the same thing. So I guess what's different?
Well, I'll come back to the evaluation. When this board decided, so we brought it up, board agreed, make a formal motion. The board agreed that governance should look at going through and creating and doing some work with evaluations, which it currently is doing. Where else would that look at? And when we're done, talk to staff, done most of the actual work. Will you get to see it? Will you get to have input? Absolutely.
Yeah.
My point is, there isn't anything being hidden in the governance.
No, and I don't think,
And
I agree with that.
we're focused on evaluation. There's a report coming out. You'll all get have the opportunity to do whatever. But I don't see anything coming out of the other three committees that tells me what's going on there. So if the issue is the governance, my point is that issue exists with all three committees.
yeah, no, I
think,
don't think it was
Stephanie.
So how do we fix it?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw in that there's actually a report every month in our board packet about what all the committees are doing.
I must have missed it.
It's in the superintendent's report every,
Okay.
and it's an outline and sometimes it goes into depth, but we're welcome to ask questions in every committee that I'm on. It covers the highlights.
And I think that's great.
And the relevant.
Does that get discussed in board meetings, so the public gets the opportunity?
Right, I think that the committee, for facilities, there's 4 people sitting. And I think that's unfortunate for the public. And being somebody that just got on the board, and yeah, if we could all work harder, we could all try harder, blah, blah, blah. An 8:30 meeting next Tuesday for facilities. It's tough for some people to get to. And the website as of a year ago was very hard to navigate. So getting the information and everything like that, so it's tough. So I guess, it's just one of those things that we are trying to create transparency. I understand it's hard for us, but we need to work on it. It all, and I understand it's here. I have it printed out and it's good, but it's over the wide net. And so we're going to create another one. what direction? Yes. Well,
There,
I'm gonna take this opportunity to excuse myself.
Sure.
I'm going to a band concert. I'm gonna urge all you guys to wrap up your business nice and early and
okay.
come join
All
us.
right.
It's pretty rocking by the end.
Record 6:48. Stephanie stepped away, so thank you. Enjoy the concert.
Have a good time, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, all fair questions. I think had I been, I was in your shoes, 1 year in, I think I'd have,
Yeah.
I think I'd have all the same questions. So I 100% see. I think
Perspective.
it's a different perspective, and I do, it's not so long ago that I can't identify with exactly where you're coming from. I think, take the evaluation point. In the past, the evaluation was completely done by the chair.
Yeah.
And so when, and Dan, Jennifer, you'll recall, we asked for a different evaluation, so the chair brought us a different evaluation, that the board didn't work on it, they brought it down to committee. I understand the question about, I do understand the point about where do things overlap, where do things get muddy. I think for the health of the board, I think for the health of the board's relationship with the superintendent of the district, I do think, and I do feel very strongly that any communication that's done with a 3-person committee and superintendent is far healthier than a single board member having a conversation. Not to say there shouldn't be one-on-one conversation with superintendent, but I do think that's been a very positive
And
thing.
just to be very clear, I think that everybody that sits on this side of the table has, it's the first time I felt this since I started paying attention. I think that everybody that sits on this side of the table does a tremendous job and thinks about the people sitting on that side and the people that sit on this side. And I think that we're going in the right direction. And that's why it's good to talk about this.
Yeah.
And so they just want to make that extreme.
It is. And when Jennifer asked, where does this have a formal place? Does it have a formal place? Does it, paraphrasing what she said, that's what being on tonight's agenda, because those were good questions. I think those were important questions. And so, yes, we did start we used the term ad hoc. Yes, we started with the notion that we'd work on communications. We had the governance piece in there from the start, but we talked about those other things. So absolutely. When that was brought up, I thought, yeah, that needs to be on the next board agenda for sure. Talk about and formalize or ask, formalized, and maybe it's not formalized. Maybe it stays exactly as is. Maybe those need to be designed. So that's why we're an 8-person board and we can look at that.
Is it possible to formalize it, five for a year? Because I think you've shown these meetings that all this work set up, kind of monthly meetings and meetings are still more productive. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, that's a good thought. Yes. All of our committees exist on a year-to-year basis. We're not under any obligation to have any committee. And some boards don't. Some boards don't function with committees at all, do it all this way. So yeah, that's a good point, that make it, take a look at it again. Don't make any assumptions.
How does this committee make our meetings any shorter?
Are you asking Tony?
Well, he's the one who said that the governance committee helps our meetings be shorter. I'd like to know how that, I don't necessarily see how that is. I know that the governance committee meeting I was an observer at, again, I saw it as, doing things that our admin was having to then do at multiple meetings. And then you would still have to bring it back to the board, because as a committee, you can't act on anything as a committee. So I guess I just don't see how it's streamlining anything personally. but maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, you still have to establish a position and explain it to the rest of the board. I agree.
Yeah, Tony, I don't know what you heard or didn't. I would certainly think what Dan brought up earlier has been hours and hours of work that's been done. And we're meeting again, tomorrow afternoon for another hour, 2 hours to work on it. So we could do that in the board meeting. I think we probably,
Well, and I
you know,
think
between work that's been done at home, work that's been done in previous meetings, we're probably up to 4 hours or so on it.
bringing up the evaluation, which, you know, you've said is something you've been working on for a while. I think, you know, in the past, we left it up to our chair, but she brought us a evaluation and we could have, you know, had more input in it had we wanted. This was sent to a committee, you know, is the committee choosing this evaluation? Or is that being brought to the board? Because it's still not, I mean, because if the committee is choosing it, then you're back to that silo effect.
That's not what, say that clearly, that is not what's going on.
All right, further comment in this area? Further comment? Other items here as we look at, about 5 minutes before we'll adjourn and start our other meeting at 7. One other item, that I think warrants some discussion tonight is, terminology and what I think is a very good idea and a very good terminology that Jennifer suggested in the idea of snow routes for bus transportations. Jennifer shared some things that she had seen. She shared some things with Dave and myself that she'd seen in other school districts, and that terminology and that concept. Thought that was a very good idea. And so we'd be seeking in the 7 o'clock meeting to take a simple vote, not set what those would look like, but simply set, authorize the concept of, that our busing professionals could identify, parts of routes that are, adversarial to go down, on snowy, icy days. And then we get that put on our website. We make that clear. And then if need be, at the call of transportation and the superintendent, as we currently do, then we would announce that we're on, possibly on snow route. And then so buses would do something limited, if that were appropriate. This also falls in, and I didn't bring it, this is under the purview of policy, I want to say it's 8112, which directs the board to work with the superintendent to come up with alternate busing strategies and different things. And so it doesn't change anything that's currently in place where the superintendent is unilaterally, with different input as he sees fit, makes a call. You know, it doesn't involve the board in making any sort of call on adverse weather or anything, but just would give the superintendent another tool in his toolbox, you know, what it might look like to run routes or not run routes. And so that would be something we haven't talked about before, and maybe we'll talk about tonight.
Who would make that call? Like, as far as like, okay, we're gonna do snow route. That's you.
Yes, but I can tell you what's happening is, and Brody are putting together a plan of what a snow route would look like for the district, but ultimately I have to make the decision based on the information I get. And sometimes I'm gonna hit it out of the park.
No,
And sometimes I won't.
and I agree. And that's why I was wondering kind of like, who's your team? You know, and so is it somebody that lives here, that lives here, that lives here? When we canceled school, when you came, the other day, you know, there were so many people that called me and they're like, what are we doing, Jan? What's going on? Hey, just so you know, there was a car flipped over on its top a mile and a half from my house. But, you know, I get, and, you know, so, but I understand the 4 miles you drive is very good. Can't make everybody happy. So I was just wondering, you know, I know that you drive a lot of roads a long way during the day. And so I was wondering kind of who's through. There's a lot of different stuff. That west side doesn't see any sunlight. I get it, you know, so, you know, kind of how that decision came to be.
There's some communication early morning.
Yeah.
About the conditions of the road and based on that input.
Right. And to be clear, this doesn't change anything. It doesn't create a hierarchy. It doesn't create a, well, we tried A doesn't work, we need to go to step B, we need to go. No, if it's superintendent says,
Right.
we're going straight to step C.
Absolutely.
There's no hierarchy. There's no follow this order. It's just a tool in the tool chest.
And there could potentially be, you know, a severe weather event that happens at, you know, 8 p.m. and the decision about school is made by 9 p.m. about the next day.
For sure.
That is, it happens in one.
You're
day.
never gonna be right on this. Just-
I'm not
I do
trying-
not
I'm
envy
trying.
your position.
Yeah.
Yeah. You live in Montana. Like, I was curious on how that is.
How that works.
All right, it's 6:59. I would entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
So
There a second?
Second.
Nathan and Jennifer, all those in favor of adjourning our work session, say aye.
Hi.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you all. All right. All right, we'll go ahead now and we are right at 7 o'clock. So didn't reset. Continue on. So,
Okay,
Mr. Gainey.
thank you. So as you can see, we just gave you a taste of our CTE and our CTSOs. You'll hear a little bit more during the student council presentation on FFA and things like that. There's a lot going on. I did throw some future stuff in there. All right, as far as work-based learning, where we are currently working on a plumbing apprenticeship, as well as planning to incorporate more work-based learning into our upcoming course schedules for the 25-26 school year. My plan is an IT/geek squad that you'll see running around helping with some of our IT stuff moving forward. So I think we've got a lot of good things working towards that 25-26 school year. And you'll hear more about CTE and CTSOs. It's very strong here in our district. Very proud of those teachers and what the students are doing. I'm going to hand it over to Arts and Music. I think Nevaeh is doing Arts and Music. All right, Nevaeh.
Hi, Nevaeh again. Although the performance was cut short due to some winter weather, Western A was still a great success. And I'd like to shout out the Chris William Choir, because even though we only went for one day and didn't actually do the concert, it was actually really good, and everybody was practicing and everybody sang really well, and it was really successful overall. And there was a band concert tonight, and on December 12th, there will be a choir concert. So.
Thank you.
So our second goal of employee excellence, this was the funnest one, trying to get students to volunteer. Professional development, essential standards work. Silas, we want to hear what you think about this.
All right. My name is Silas, and obviously on Wednesdays, students got at 2:30, but teachers have to stay until 4. And us, the students who didn't really know what the teachers did, we thought maybe they worked on prep, like hung out in the teacher's lounge. But Mr. Kenny told us that basically it's like a time. I think it's every first and fourth Wednesday of each month. It's a time for teachers to kind of like work on assessments and make sure that they meet a benchmark, and then apply this benchmark into like tests and lessons and stuff like that.
Good job.
Thank you. Thanks for answering what happens on those Wednesdays.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell you, everyone thought half of that. Evan, you want to talk about our wonderful Miss Robot?
Yeah. Yeah, so Miss Robot, I call her Miss Adrian. She's wonderful. She's just great. I mean, not something I'm proud of, but I come into school late quite a bit, and she's always the face of it. You come in, she makes you want to be at school. It's like, just start your day off good, you know, like you walk in there, you see her, she's super cool. And, she's behind, but, besides that, she's behind like the school social media, and, she's also the school secretary. Yeah. Yeah, she's the school secretary, so she's super, super cool. She does her job really well. Super nice person. She's just like, I can't even put it in words. She's just like, you come into school, she's just so chill. Just like all the school, just like all the administration. Yeah, she's cool. She's wonderful.
Thank you, Evan.
Thanks.
Parent engagement. Cole?
Hey guys, I'm Cole Jermaine. And parent teacher conferences were relatively, like, they were not too far away, but on the second night of parent teacher conferences, there was a carnival that was held by all of the like high school extracurriculars in the NPR, and there was like 11 or 12, I think, different like extracurricular groups there, and it was just super cool because like instead of just having parents and like their kid come like to school for parent teacher conferences and get scolded about their grades or something, after all that they got to have fun and come to the NPR and see all of us and play all these games that we created and ran, and it was just a cool fundraiser for all the clubs, and it like just helped parents and students like get more involved in the school and see more of the school rather than just come here for grades. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Silas, do you want to talk a little bit about our FAFSA nights?
Yeah, so Ms. Cardoza, our senior counselor, is offering FAFSA nights, which is really important because financial aid is like a crucial part of college. And so she's offering like kind of one-on-one nights to help students and their parents set up their FAFSA account and so they are ready to take on like the higher education, the next step.
This next one, safety and wellness, important topic. Mason, proud and volunteer to talk about these things. So, Mason.
Hello, I'm Mason. One of the major things we do for our health curriculum, on top of showing awareness, is we do a Chalk It Up. That's where students go out on the sidewalks and they write about how like anxiety affects people, bipolar, depression, how all that. So it's a more public way of acknowledging these different things people can experience. And another thing we do is the RBHI. The RBHI is a screening. It's a more private way of trying to figure out who's struggling but can't really come forward to it. And we run through that twice a year. And we just recently did one. And it just runs you through a series of questions, and it helps really get those students the help they need without them having to come out publicly.
Good job, Charles. And McKenna, we're going to talk about what we're doing for capacity operations.
All right, well, once the band gets settled down, I'm delighted to stand up here and talk about our new developments for the campus leadership capacity. And so campus leadership is working to revise the student handbooks for the upcoming school year to better meet the needs of our students. And one of the ways this is accomplished was really cool. Students in marketing presented recommendations to the principals on some policy or procedures that they thought would benefit students or change for the long run. And I was actually part of this in entrepreneurship. We got to come up with ideas of how we would implement a change, why it would be necessary, and who would benefit. And overall, this is just a really cool opportunity for the students to maybe have a say in the school more than we've seen in years past. This is definitely a recent development. We haven't gotten to make these changes before. So just, this is a really positive note, a really positive, I think, direction we're going for the students and for the school. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, our next report, which represents a huge, piece of our school is actually our student government. So this year we have very much an empowered student government that's helping make a lot of decisions. And so, it's Addison Dry.
I'm Addison Dry. I'm the junior class secretary. And student council right now is currently working to prepare for our winter pep assembly next week. SUCO has also organized a winter spirit week for the high school where students will dress up to follow a daily theme. This month we had 3 student council members apply for a National Student Council scholarship. The National Association of Student Council Scholarship Program recognizes high school juniors and seniors who embody the core tenets of student council, and these are leadership, service, student voice, and engagement. This year they are awarding $100,000 to students with a strong record of leadership in their school student council, $1,000 to 75 finalists, and $5,000 to 5 national winners. And then our student council advisor is also on the leader for FFA, and last month 34 FFA members competed at the annual Montana Ag Expo in Bozeman. They hosted nearly 2,000 FFA members from across Montana. Stevensville's highlights include the following: 8th place, Farb and Agribusiness Management Team; 4th place, Junior Floriculture Team; 9th place, Senior Floriculture Team; 3rd place, Range Evaluation Team; 3rd place, Soils Evaluation Team; 8th place, Senior Veterinary Science Team; Tegan Hackett, 3rd place, Individual in Sales; Leah Johnstone, 3rd place, Individual in Creed Speaking; 3rd place, Junior Agronomy Team; 3rd place, Senior Agronomy Team; 3rd place, Junior Livestock Team. And then for more information on the individual placings, you can follow them on Facebook. FFA members just wrapped up selling Montana-made boxes as a part of their annual fundraiser, which expects to benefit the Montana economy through the purchase of nearly $11,000 of Montana-made products this holiday season. As for 2 other major clubs in high school, we have our Key Club and our NHS. As Key Club members, we just visited the Helena Veterans Hospital and we sang Christmas carols to the veterans. They loved it. We also passed out Christmas-themed appreciation cards. We are also hosting the winter formal this weekend from 7:30 to 10:30. We currently have 22 members, and in NHS, we are writing in the midst of our annual Letters to Santa program. So last week we just dropped off boxes to elementary kids, and they all wrote letters to Santa. And tomorrow we are going to be writing them back and hopefully making their dreams come true. We have 17 members, and we take membership applications from 10th and 11th grade students after the new year.
That was a small taste of everything we're doing at the high school. But as you can tell, great bunch of kids willing to be up here on a Tuesday night, talking about their school. Super proud of them. I enjoy this because it gives me a chance to sit down and visit with the crew. I did tell them that after they did their report, I'd let them go. All right. I know we've got a band concert over there. The high school is about to start playing right now. So if you want to go support your band members, some of the girls need to get back to practice. All right. But thank you guys. Great job.
You guys did a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. King. Thank you. Mr. Tanis, does this take us to a curriculum report?
Yeah.
All right.
Conan, are you ready to roll? You gotta follow that act.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Last time I had to follow another grade report. I will keep mine short and sweet. Curriculum committee has been formed. We have our first organizational committee meeting for the new adoption that we're going to be recommending to you for English language arts. Our first organizational meeting will be Thursday, and hopefully looking to get something to be in front of the board, hopefully by March latest, maybe April board meeting. But there are some things that are going to be at play in the legislation. You guys have heard about some recent legislation that's trying to be passed. I think there's a bill going to be proposed that deals with curriculum in the area of reading, called the science of reading. There are 26 states so far that have adopted this across the nation. So I did put some of that in the board report a little bit, and I connected a podcast that's really has several not only educators but parents and communities and state officials taking heed to the shift in reading philosophy per se over the last 50 years. There's kind of been an argument that's been going on for a long time on the science of reading as compared to whole language piece, and many states are doing away with whole language concepts and strategies in their states and moving towards more of a science of reading. And we'll be taking a look at that, and I want to kind of get that in front of you guys to be able to be a part of hopefully that understanding of what we're going to be doing with the latest research to hopefully bring forward the best curriculum that meets our students in our district. I am looking for a board member to be part of this committee, so it'd be great to have someone on board. Again, our first meeting is on Thursday. It's the first organizational meeting. It's 30 days long. And then we'll probably have 4 or 5 meetings after that. I have invited some parents to be a part of this as well, to be part of this curriculum team. We're going to build philosophy first on what we believe is best for our district before we bring in the companies. So I felt like we all need to be on the same page before we start bringing in a whole bunch of different types of companies to present curriculum to us. And then we're going to use our ELA standards and our essential standards that we've been working on this year to help determine which curriculum best meets those needs and the students that are in our district. So if you guys know, let me know who you would like to have on next, be a part of that. Another piece of information that may play a part in what we're doing. Montana in September received one of 23 grants across the nation for $50 million to do a new reading initiative. And before Christmas, we're going to announce the schools that are eligible to apply for the grant. And so we're hoping that we're on that list. A lot of times it's based on need and reduced percentage population. And so at 39%, I don't know if we'll make that cut or not. So it'll be interesting to see what, if we're on that list or not. If we're on that list, that will bring up great discussion on whether we go forward with that grant. I know you guys have had a grant here in the past, way before I've been here, but you know, Reading First grant, was that the last grant? Oh,
yeah.
So Reading First grant was the last grant that this district received. It'd be fabulous to have a grant like that to help support purchase of the curriculum as well as a possible reading coach that would go with that. And so I'm excited to hopefully be on that list and have those discussions with our that's as much as I'm going to share, unless you guys have questions for me.
I noticed your outreach to get parents community on your ELA committee. Has that gone well, or you kind of made reference to you got
people talking about it, but I don't have anyone committed yet.
okay, but you got some dialogue.
I do have one. If no one else comes forward, I do have a parent that is also a sub that said she would do it.
Okay.
But I'd love to have a couple parents on that. That would bring another perspective to our team.
Right, right.
I was gonna also mention that I just love that you've reached out to the community, and I think that's awesome. And I know as, you know, when I was just a parent before I was a board member, I would have thought that was like the coolest thing ever, is getting that perspective. And it allows more parents to see what the schools actually do.
Right.
Which I think is cool.
I would certainly think this wouldn't be a formal action item or anything, but I would think somebody from the 8 of us could be on that committee. I don't know if might be somebody who's not here tonight, but I think we can we can get that figured out. Yeah, didn't have that on our radar, but we.
I'll be in touch. I'll be gone on Thursday, but I'll be in touch. And I'd like to be a part of the meetings. Yeah, we can do great. So, yeah, that'd be awesome. Love what you do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the continued great reports and the high school. Fantastic, as we've said. So, all right. Other questions? Are there questions from the public? Comment from the public on curriculum. We've been getting fantastic curriculum updates at every meeting. So this is really good to speak. State your name, please. Stand for the record. Yep.
Just have a question on that. So you're looking for parents. Do they have to be parents? Or they can be interested people in the community? I think if you have your investment stakeholder in a district, I think that would be fantastic. Just curious.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you so much. That would take us then to our superintendent's report.
Yeah.
Which was in the packet as well.
Again, mine's not as exciting as the high schools either, but you've got a list of meetings there, a couple of updates on vacancies in the district. In our special meeting next week, we will have a paraprofessional for consideration. And one thing that I want to point out that's absent from this list is custodians. There's one more that will be likely offered a position soon, and that will round out what we need for custodial help at this particular point. So all of a sudden there has been an interest in that work, and so we're happy to have a larger crew coming on board. So substitutes and in all of our different areas are a constant, and so that will remain open. Policy committee, some of the workings of our policy committee, we have taken a pretty close look at some of our FERPA policies, 2 of which will be in your agenda to take action on later tonight. And so we have policy 3600 is really the umbrella to many of these pieces to FERPA, and really what we're talking about are student records and maintaining confidentiality and some of the procedures about challenging a student record, changing a student record, keeping things confidential when and where those items are shared. The 3600P is something that we're talking about in committee. And there's some question and work that we're doing on that. And we'll see if that makes it to your agenda for consideration. Also taking a look at student discipline and some of the components of what goes into student discipline. In a previous policy, we hadn't had anything about academic dishonesty within the policy. And so there's some additions that we're considering that could be coming your way. In addition to that, we are also looking at things that are related to district threat assessments. It's an administrative procedure that we've been doing for a number of years, but we have not necessarily had the policy aligned to that. So those are some of the things that are going on. Committee is also discussing policy 3340 and 3510 as they relate to extracurricular and co-curricular activities, making sure that those policies are aligned to some of our handbook language and how that is administered to students if there are issues that arise over the course of a season or while they're participating in co-curricular activity. So those are all things that are being discussed in that committee. Facilities, the major thing that is really on the radar of all of us right now, and part of the reason for our special meeting next week is to talk about the potential of a land swap with the Stevensville Community Foundation and whether or not that is something that the trustees are interested in or the district is interested in. So those will be some of the items that are up and coming. School improvement team had met recently. We are working now on a district assessment plan that aligns to some of the essential standards work that John Conan and our principals are doing with our staff. We want to make sure that what our assessments align to those standards, and we have ways of determining whether or not our kids are proficient and moving forward academically. In addition to that, we worked on a tool for getting input. It hasn't been released yet. Just took some feedback from the SIT team about a professional development inventory of our staff so that we can align what the needs of the district are to the interests of our staff and the things that they feel like they have interest in for professional development. So working on that. And then we are looking into and continuing to evaluate some of the school climate surveys that we sent out in late October and early November, looking for things that have changed, have improved or decreased, and doing some of that good work. And then just a couple of updates that came across my email that I thought were interesting for you to know. High school baseball conferences. You can see what has been released for high school baseball and where we fit. We are in the South Conference, so you can see the teams there. We have Corvallis, Lawrence, Frenchtown, Hamilton, Darby, Missoula Big Sky, Missoula Hellgate, Missoula Sentinel, San Ignatius, and Arlee, and Stephenville are all in that South Conference for baseball. And then the high school football conferences have worked on an alignment, and you can see we are in the Southwest group in those changes. Last thing on my list is follow-up about the Montana School Unemployment Insurance Program. So I know there was some level of uncomfortable feelings about acting upon that particular item. I want to point out the comparison in the chart between the state premium and the MTSUIP. And you can see over the course of the year what those savings are. So since 2003, you can see some of the changes there in the savings, comparing year to year. So just wanted to provide that follow-up for you. That is it. Any questions about that? I know I talked fast.
Questions from the board, questions on anything else related to superintendent's work? Thank you for the information. Thank you for the MTSUIP. I see that their manager, Lisa, provided this statement and some clarity.
Yep. And that is just a copy of the email.
Yeah, I think that I find that personally very helpful. I appreciate that. Questions from the public for the superintendent? All right. Thank you all. We'll move into section 7, which is our business and action items, and we'll ask if there are any applications out of district enrollments.
And there are. Starting with elementary.
I would ask again, will you have a forum for that?
Yes, Tony on.
Because
Yeah,
Tony-
4 of 7.
And Tony vote on that because he's not here to see this or to ask questions.
Well, we can send them what we've done before.
I'm just curious.
Yep. We are 4 of 7. We can also hold off too. So. So Tony, are you, I know you're on mute, or you with us? There you are. All right. As long as you can hear, go ahead and put yourself back on mute and I think there'll be a couple questions here. We'll get you engaged. So, so I guess. So were we being asked to overturn the administration's decision?
No, so you are being asked to either support or not support the recommendations of the administration. So I will point out that student with the ID 216, last 3 numbers, was a second grade applicant. That grade level is full.
Okay.
So that is the reason for the denial. There's been a notification to the family about that. But that's the reason for that.
Tony, could you hear that? Because that's a little bit different than what we normally see at this section of the meeting.
I heard most of it, yes, I believe so.
Okay, so the vote would be to support the denial of admission for an out-of-district student due to the fact that the grade that the student is applying to be in is currently full of in-district students, so we don't have room. Okay. And then there is one other, I know you don't have the items in front of you. We treat these as a bit confidential, so another student with an ID ending in 101. Is there any questions from the board on these items or anything, and then we could talk about them to make sure Tony understands as well. So does anybody see anything they want to question on 101?
Recommendations to accept. So Tony knows.
Oh, yes, thank you. The recommendation for the student ID 101 is to accept. And yeah, there's no other items that fall out of the normal scope of what we see typically in this section of the meeting. All right. Questions? Nathan, Tony, or Dan? Okay. All right. So elementary only. Tony, any questions you want to ask to feel comfortable voting? Your vote would be needed. You're comfortable, and Tony, so the public knows, Tony, when he told me he wouldn't be here tonight and would be calling in, I'd also picked up a packet and got some things from the district office well in advance as well, and has that with him. So, all right, can I get a motion to approve the enrollment of student ending in ID 101 and to sustain the recommendation of the administration for the student ID ending in 216 for the Stevensville Elementary? Dan move. Nathan second. Dan, how do you vote? I vote aye. Tony, how do you vote? Nathan, how do you vote? That is 4 in favor, 0 against. All right. And we'll move on to high school outer district enrollment. Tony, there's one student, applying to be in the high school. The ID, well, doesn't matter what the ID is because there's only one student, so. And I would open it up to, does any board member have, questions on the information in front of them? Right. Tony, I know you don't have that there, so, there are no questions from any other board member. It would certainly be your call whether you want to, vote or abstain. We do have a quorum, without your vote. Okay, all right. Thank you now.
Do we have a quorum with board? Do we need 5 for high school?
Oh, because of the 8.
And why would he abstain from this one if he did not abstain for an elementary?
Because I read him the information. I didn't read him anything with this, so I can
I mean,
certainly do that. So, yeah, we probably do need to do that. So, Tony, you can still abstain. It's still a quorum whether somebody abstains or not. Yeah. Abstain is present for it. You don't have to vote.
That would be my preference.
Okay. Yeah, just get
I
reported as
feel
such.
pretty uncomfortable if he's uncomfortable voting for this, but why was he comfortable voting for the last? And I don't think we would have a quorum.
I would suggest you ask Tom.
I can share the information with you, Tony. So again, with a certain level of, confidentiality for the student applying, the administration has reported, no issues on the items, that we see every month when we're looking at the issues. Academically,
You have more information than you did on the other two.
can I,
I,
how can I help you?
well, I don't understand why on the need to give him more information than you did on the other two. I don't understand what the difference is.
You were asking, so I'm trying to
Well,
help accommodate what you're asking for. And so on the other one, we had a situation of
There was an
recommended,
accept and a decline.
right, and
he
specific
felt
reason.
comfortable voting, but now he doesn't feel comfortable voting with
So
the
are-
same amount of
So are you
information.
questioning me or are you questioning Tony?
I am questioning whether we as a board are following procedure
So
to do this appropriately.
My
With the
question-
number of people we have here.
I think that's a good question, and the question then becomes, does Tony have enough information to formulate a vote?
And he already said he would like to abstain. So he shares what he shared. So I am doing my best to answer your questions. So I welcome further questions, but where further would you like to lead this?
Well, I guess I
Our-
am just.
Our trustee said he
concerned
wouldn't want it to abstain.
And my question is, do the votes we need to finish this business with the people we have here?
So according to Robert's rule, the majority is whatever the body would be present. To have a quorum does not require that all members vote for all items. A quorum requires that we have 1 plus half or half plus 1 to be present. And so we would have half plus 1. And I agree, that's a 5 when we're talking to the high school. But there's nothing in Robert's rule that would require that. Then you have to have that same number vote in the affirmative or against anything. Now, if somebody's not present, then we don't have that. If you'd like to table, we can table.
That's fine.
Probably ask if the students enrolled and,
All students are not enrolled until you make the decision.
Well, and I guess I'm just concerned that we are not following the same procedure for the elementary that we are for the high
This
school.
is
That
something
is
we
my
can
only
easily
question.
put to next Wednesday or next Tuesday.
feel that we are following procedure appropriately doing it this way, I am fine to vote on it tonight.
In terms of Robert's rule, we would be, but as the chair, I welcome a motion to table.
And as,
I make a motion to table.
Is there a second?
Second.
Then move to table the out of district enrollment for the high school student ending in ID 579. Table until when?
next Tuesday, the 17th.
Tuesday, the 17th. Is there any discussion on tabling this motion? All right, all those in favor, Tony, we're tabling the motion, that is the motion right now. All those in favor of tabling, the enrollment of the single high school student, and approving that enrollment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, let's pass those back into the superintendent. All right, we'll move on to item B of our action items, which request for consideration to increase the wage of our technology support staff member. Mr. Tennis.
Yeah, so, in front of you, you have a proposal to increase a wage for Caleb Knudsen. Since Greg Schiller's resignation / retirement, Caleb has been, he's been great and been working really hard to try to fill the needs of two people and has done a great job. And I feel like it is well deserved and appropriate to increase his wage to $20 an hour.
Right, is there a motion? And then
The wage from 1842 to 20.
I would second that.
Nathan, seconded by Jennifer. Are there questions and discussion around this item from the board? Questions or a comment from the public? Yes, please state your name for the record.
Ricky Motley, he's worth more than $20 an hour. He is amazing and he bent over backwards to help us, even though he's only one person on staff, and he always does it with a smile. He's phenomenal. And we are so lucky to have him.
We'll add to that, I appreciate that comment, that we'll add that we had a technology committee meeting today. And one of the items that we are discussing is what support looks like in Stevensville when it comes to technology and the different ways of offering support. And really we were, the discussion ended up talking about what sorts of things can we empower and provide enough professional development that people can handle on their own. What sorts of things should go to Caleb? What sorts of things should go to our managed service provider, K-12? And then how can we fold students into some of that as well? Because that is, I mean, kids are pretty techy. And there are some things that they can help us with. So great conversation, great committee work today. And I appreciate the comment.
Thank you. Further public comment. And duly noted, duly noted. Well, yes, we'd love to be in a position to pay closer to what they're truly worth, but good to know. Appreciate the positive comment on Mr. Knudsen. So, all right, there's a motion and a second on the floor to increase the wage for our technology support, Caleb Knudsen. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That takes us to first reading of policy 3600 F1 and F2.
Yeah, so these are first reading policies. Again, it's not necessary to make a motion, but I do recommend that there is a motion made to move them to a second reading. These particular policies, policy 3600F1 is, it is a policy that really just provides annual notification and the process of notifying parents of what directory information and the educational record is and how they can go about opting out of sharing or maintaining confidentiality of some of that information. 3600F2 is the form that we send out at the beginning of the year. And this is to collect parents' wishes as to what items can be shared that is in the directory information. So those two, there was some confusion, to be honest with you, about 3600F2. There were two different forms. And so it appears as though the version that is in front of you today is the adopted version, but there's another one out there. So we wanted to make clear that this is our version. So that's the work.
And any changes from the committee that are unique to Stevensville, or this is boilerplate language?
Boilerplate language.
That we adopt, that we're being asked to adopt. Okay.
Yep, and I apologize for the watermark on that box. I didn't catch that until.
Right. Chair will entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to, move policy 3600F1 and 3600F2 to a second reading for the board.
Is there a second? Jennifer made the motion, Dan seconded. Questions for the superintendent or the policy committee? All right, questions from the public? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of moving this to second reading, 3600 F1 and F2, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Takes us to item D of the night, which is our sinking fund reinvestment of a maturing CD. Before we launch too far into this, I've been notified by one of the trustees with us tonight, his desire to abstain in the decision-making process. And so Mr. Mullen has asked to abstain. We have a quorum, but we've also recently had a discussion around that as well. So I want to put that out there, and
we may not have a quorum in the elementary district for that, which is what we would be voting.
Okay, and that would be a different story. Okay.
So my recommendation would be to table, and we do have a 10-day period where we can tackle this again on the 17th. This would be a special meeting.
There a desire to hear from folks who might be here tonight for this agenda item.
I think we should table
it fully. Okay, well.
Okay. Yeah, there's.
Well, it'd be up to the board. The desire here informational, and then the chair would entertain a motion to table. But
Well, I think if there is a guest here to speak on this matter, we should hear them out while they're here.
The unfortunate thing is.
Not everyone is here.
But yeah, absolutely. Someone has to speak.
So, yeah, let's, to keep kind of in order of things, I would entertain a motion to table, and then during the discussion phase of the tabling, maybe we can hear from all
Or
parties.
could, in the past, we have been able to vote to give Christie the authority to make a choice?
We don't have enough. It's elementary. But then we truly don't have enough.
Even with the four of you?
Dan's sister.
Oh,
Yeah, we wouldn't have the.
but he could make a motion to allow Christie to make a decision. In the past, he's been able to vote for that. I thought.
Oh, I do. That'd be up to Dan.
Abstain.
It'd be up to him. So. Okay. Mr. Dennis, would you like to, or Mr. Clarence, share the a brief synopsis of where we're at with this, as we typically do at this time?
Yeah, we do. Scott Halligan.
Okay.
Sorry, Scott Halligan.
I gave you a chart, so the chart really just, communicates what I would share, but Scott, if you would, share your information, that would be great.
And I'm all good. I was just here to listen and I'm happy to come back on the subject. So no problem. It's okay. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Chair would entertain a motion.
I move to table the consideration for the sinking fund reinvestment of a maturing CD.
And so according to, I'm sorry, yeah, from what I'm gathering from superintendent, it's the elementary side of things. So we probably
So
better.
I can't.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I should have been clear about that from the start. That's what kind of got us in this pickle. So the chair would entertain a motion from a high school trustee.
No.
Or an elementary trustee, sorry, thank you, an elementary trustee.
I move the table, the reinvestment of CD 3270 until December
17. It's been moved to table the discussion and action item around the reinvestment of CD 3270 until the next special meeting of December 17th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to table this item. And so Nathan, or is there any discussion, any public comment on table? Okay, Nathan, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Tony, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye. And Dan, you vote aye to table. All right. It's been moved to table that item. So apologies to folks who have invested time tonight.
One quick question,
Yes,
just that did not come with that information. Chrissy, what is the maturity date? Because does 7 days and the 10 days?
The maturity date is December 15th and the 10 days after that.
Yep, perfect.
Is what it's.
Perfect. Yep, great. Sorry, I did not come with that information.
Yes.
Right, we'll move on to, item E. The establishment of the, governance committee that, was established in the summer, on an ad hoc basis, so removing the ad hoc nature, and, establishing as a governance committee that would meet as we discussed prior, so would meet when called as a function of the board to handle something at the call of the superintendent or at the call of the group to continue work that they've already been under. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Mullen, seconded by Nathan. All right, discussion, questions, further questions? All right. Public comment or questions on the establishment of the committee? All those in favor of establishing the governance committee as an official committee, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item F. The establishment of snow routes under policy 8110 authorizes the superintendent to make decisions, including the delay and cancellation of schools. And policy 8110 states that the board may help develop guidelines of cooperation with that. So superintendent, in working with transportation professionals to designate what could be snow routes as a possible means of necessary travel on days where that's appropriate based on the weather. So,
And just to point out, Jason and Brody are working with drivers and input on what that may look like. And once they are finished with that, we'll present a plan to the community.
Wonderful, wonderful. Will there be a motion?
I don't think there's a reason to move. I don't think it's in the board's purview to vote on this. This is, I mean, I think This is a superintendent who, working with transportation, does this. I don't think this is something that the board has any reason to move on one way or another.
I think all we're doing is just directing them to do that.
But I don't think that's, according to the policy Ben quoted earlier, 8112, that's not even in that policy.
81.
That policy says that the superintendent has the authorization to make bus and transportation decisions. It's not that we're,
Right, it's in the narrative. Policy 8110 says the board develop guidelines and cooperation with superintendent. So this would be our part. This would be the board's part, taking formal steps, saying this is do it, and then it'd be up to the superintendent to figure out what those are, because we're the experts. But we're doing our part under 8110.
So we're just giving them
The green light to do, yep,
make that call.
right. And then policy 8110's unchanged. We're not amending the policy.
Policy was
It says the board, develop guidelines. So we're giving a guideline, developing, come up with snow routes. We are part.
So should we see the guidelines first?
I would personally say not, because that would be getting into day-to-day governance.
Right.
We don't, just like for a student handbook, we don't vote on those, we don't approve those, we just authorize that they exist. And then the district then carries those out. And so we're authorizing that something exists, the district then will carry it.
Thanks for the.
Josh, motion.
Yes, please. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, Dan and Nathan, that we authorize the district to establish snow routes for our day-to-day transportation. Questions from the public? Further questions from the board? All those in favor of establishing snow routes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, our last item tonight is a contract in front of you for our adult ed coordinator. Mr. Mike Mickelson has been in this role for, is it 25 years?
I don't know, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, usually been working under him for that long.
Yeah, I think 25 years. So, employing, Mr. Mickelson, and I'm very grateful for his years of, service and longevity and, consistency that he's brought to this role. So, Mr. Dennis, anything you need to say quickly on that?
No, I just appreciate his, initiative in, getting this work done. I'm, obviously recommend the approval of the contract, but I appreciate him and the work he puts into it.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Jennifer, second by Nathan. Questions from the board on the adult ed contract? Adult ed coordinator contract, excuse me. Questions from the public? All those in favor of approving, the adult ed coordinator contract as presented for Mike Mickelson, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, any in the meeting announcements? Superintendent?
No, just a special meeting next Tuesday, the 17th. So we'll, obviously our items that were tabled this evening, we'll have that on that particular agenda and have a conversation about the limit.
Okay, and,
Yes.
evaluation.
Yes.
Evaluation.
We'll have that conversation.
Yes, we'll all have that. Yep. Yes,
There were work meeting prior to it.
there is not.
Go enjoy your dinner.
Huh?
Go enjoy your dinner.
Yeah.
Right, any other question from the public? Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Dan, second by Nathan. All those in favor of adjourning, the regular board meeting, say aye. All opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, Tony.
Right,